Well, hey there, folks. This is Justin Dyke from CartoonSmart.com, and we're going to be playing around with Sprite Kit today, and we'll do that using Xcode, of course. So be sure that you get this downloaded and opened up. You can get it from the Mac App Store, and as soon as you do, just go over here to File and hit New Project. Alrighty. And you'll notice that they give you lots of template options for your new project. You've got iOS, watchOS, tvOS, Mac OS, or the almighty cross-platform, which would actually make a Sprite Kit game for all four of these using essentially all the same code. But we're not going to tinker with that for right now. I will show you guys that template. It's interesting. But to keep things kind of simple, let's just work with iOS for the moment. Click over here on Game and go to Next. So let's just put in here, play around, right? What better title? And you don't really need these checked off, okay? We're not going to integrate gameplay kit in these lessons, so just don't worry about it. And if for your organization name, you can of course put in here anything you want, Justin Dyke, Cartoon Smart, whatever. And the organization identifier, put in there the reverse of your domain name, or I think you could even leave it blank if you wanted to, just for these lessons. So just click on Next. Now, for a lot of you, if you've just downloaded Xcode for the first time, you don't have any sort of signing certificate or anything like that. You do need to be a registered Apple developer to eventually be able to upload your finished app up to Apple. So again, you're probably going to be looking at something like this where you don't have, you might have automatically managed signing clicked on, but you don't really have your provisioning profiles, all that stuff set up. We'll go into that in a video down the road, but if you're looking at something like this state, we get a little red mark over here. That's okay, because we can still build to the simulators, and you can find all the available simulators over here. Okay, so one of the things you wouldn't be able to do without some of your certificates is actually build to your device, right? So you might have that plugged in via USB, but you could have issues building to it, right? But the simulators will be fine for right now, and I did just run a little test of that to make sure that things are working okay. So if you want to just build the starting template as it is, just go over here and hit the run button. And one thing you might notice is that this is gonna, well, in my case, it's the bottom part is getting cut off over here, so you can't actually make the simulator a bit smaller. And why am I having trouble finding that? Let's see, sometimes I forget where these things are. There we go. Scale. Knock it down. Oh, look, that could have actually been up at 100%. And you'll notice that you get some kind of little statistics running down here in the bottom left or right corner about the number of nodes that are in the scene, the FPS, and keep your eye on that. 16 frames per second is very slow on your device. This would be running at about 60 frames per second. And for all my years teaching, I've always said never trust the simulator. It is not really a truly good environment for really for any testing, but other than maybe just seeing where things did they lay out correctly in the right position. I know everybody doesn't have every device out there, but when it comes to gaming, you cannot trust the simulator. The physics are going to be off. And you're going to run into a lot of other problems. So always test your device if you can. But again, I know a lot of you are just starting out. And while we're still on the screen over here, your display name, this is going to be your actual name that appears below the icon of your app on the home screens and things like that. So you do need to keep it kind of short and sweet, generally speaking. And then your actual name for the app is not tied to the display name over here. So in iTunes Connect, when you register your app, it can be kind of long string or whatever you want. Actually, it has to be under 50 characters now. And then again, the bundle identifier. You'll notice that when I put in there the reverse domain name, it just kind of hacks this part together with the whatever I call the project over here. So you can change that after the fact. So again, in iTunes Connect, when you create your app ID or your bundle identifier, which is kind of, again, it is exactly what it says. It's basically your app ID for this. You're going to want that to match up with whatever you put in iTunes Connect. So again, you can change that after you've created the project. Version 1.0, so all these projects are going to start at that. If you find yourself, you uploaded a version of your app and you wanted to make a little change or something like that, then you could go up to like 1.1, re-upload it again, and then it's something slightly different than it was before. So you'll have multiple copies of that app that you uploaded to Apple. And sometimes that happens if you say you uploaded, you realize you made a mistake after the fact, you just want to upload it again. Otherwise, if you want, again, we can go into more about iTunes Connect and things like that later on down the road to do with your signing certificates and everything. But let's see, for your device orientation, you can kind of click these on or off. One thing you might notice is that you might want to do it on. So, for example, click specifically for the iPhone. And make those changes, then specifically for the iPad, and then over here to universal. Otherwise, just getting started. One other quick little thing. Let's go over here to your assets. If you're if you kind of start building to your device or even your simulators, and you don't like seeing just the blank icon or the default icon, you could of course just pop an icon in here, kind of satisfy you temporarily, and you can see that these are all drag and drop slots, and they are giving you an indication of the size. And I believe if you hover over long enough, it might even tell you the exact pixel size. But basically, if it says 2x over here and it says 29 points, so that means that the size for that one should be 58. Okay, so 58 by 58, the width and the height. And then for the 3x, again, same multiplier, so just times 3. 29. I'm not that good at math. Oh wait, it's 87. I figured it out. So those are all the sizes. And I would recommend down the road, if you're making a lot of apps, set up some sort of batch rule in Photoshop that'll just basically upload a big size icon, and then it'll Google how to do batch rules in Photoshop, and it'll show you how to basically just resize all of them and make copies. Otherwise, all right, let's look at the actual files that you get here in the starting template and which ones you really should care about. The game view controller, well, really the app delegate kind of gets the party started, but I don't think I've ever gone in and adjusted the app delegate for a Sprite Kit game. And even kind of with the game view control, I don't do much in here ever. You can see that when this loads up, it's basically what it says. It's a view controller, right? So it's kind of presenting a view, but then it's also presenting a scene. Okay, and that's what's going on over here. So when the view loads up, what this block of code is doing is it's giving you that your initial Sprite Kit scene, and so again, if you can kind of just bear with the quick tour here. The main thing to notice here is that this is just GameScene, right? And then you cut over here, it's presenting to you the GameScene.sks file where you can actually lay out stuff. And this will be a fun file to tinker with in this video, because there's a lot of basic stuff that we can discuss. You can kind of see how powerful Sprite Kit is just with these scene files. But I'm sure plenty of you are curious what ties together the scene itself, where you can lay out your things, to the actual code. And you can see here is the actual code file for this, the .swift file. And this is what ties the two together. So you've got custom class over here. So dive into this, you can see that this is the class of SK scene type, right? So our actual .sks file or scene layout file, there's the custom class, right? So that's what ties the two together. If you were to change this and not have a corresponding Swift file, well, you'd obviously have some problems at that point. And what's making some of the magic happen when you actually do run this in the simulator, press down, you can see you get these little spinny things in here. That's just the starting template code that they give you, and we'll destroy all of that, on a planetary scale soon enough. But again, for right now, you can leave it in there, and let's go ahead and pick on the SKS file a little bit. By default, I think you should be seeing this panel open, but if you're not, you can open and close it over this way. And you'll notice down here at the bottom on this third tab over, we've got lots of components that we can just basically drag into the scene here. And if you wanted to play around with an image that is not a spaceship, which comes included with the template file, really all you've got to do is just take any image from your desktop, wherever it is, and just for right now, you can just drag it into this main folder with all of your other stuff. But down the road, what you're going to want to do is something like this, where you actually drag it into your assets catalog. And these days, we really don't need to put in 1x images. I don't think, is there a device right now on iOS 10 that supports 1x? Maybe the original iPad mini does, but yeah, pretty much everything is Retina display these days, so you really don't have to put in images in these 1x slots anymore. But usually what I'll do is I'll of course put in the 2x images, and if I'm feeling lazy, a lot of times I'll just not even worry about the 3x. But then you should be doing the 3x images as well. Although my eyes really can't tell a difference. And then, but I guess on an iPad Pro or something like that, yeah, it's maybe more clear. So anyway, again, it's all just drag and drop, and you could make an empty image slot over here, new image, right, and call it whatever you want, and then put your images in that way. But if you do just drag an image in, it's gonna basically take the original source file name and put it in here for whatever you want to name it, but you can change that after the fact to like image 2 or something like that. And those are going to be available then after you've got a color sprite that you dragged over here under texture, right? So that's where all your textures are going to show up. And yeah, so we've got a fun little spaceship here on the screen, and obviously if we were to build the simulator right now, so we're going to run this again, what are we going to see? We're going to see a spaceship, right? So a lot of Sprite Kit is just, or working with Sprite Kit and Swift is just a matter of kind of laying out the things that you want to interact with, and then writing the code to do whatever you want to do with them, right? But there's a ton that you can do in the scene editor, property-wise, that that you don't have to do in code, and that's a relatively kind of a recent thing. So, for example, I'm going to let there it is, still building up, and you can see, yeah, you saw your spaceship over there. So, for example, we could define the physics for this spaceship. So we go over here to body type. Right now, it's got none, but what we could do is set alpha mask over here, and you can see that it's created this little blue outline around the body, and this is actually going to be the spaceship's physics definition. So it's now got this little mass defined by that shape over there. So if we were to, for example, just drop it down, let's go back over here. Well, actually, as soon as you turn on your physics, it's got dynamic set, allows rotation, and affected by gravity. So these are the main properties you're going to initially set up when you're working with physics. And if I were to run this right now, I would probably not even get a chance to see this thing fall down to the bottom of the screen. I think in the amount of time it takes for the simulator to basically get started up, let's see if I can make this smaller. I really can't. It would already be gone. So what we'd have to do is kind of put something down here so that you could maybe get an idea that it fell down, so gravity pulled it down. And you can actually take a blank color sprite, so you don't even have to texture this thing. And you could sort of make like a little wall over here, right down here at the bottom. And again, go over here to your physics definition. This time, let's just go with bounding rectangle. So it's just going to make a rectangular shape based on this what was already a rectangle, right? And somehow I managed to rotate this a little bit by accident, but that's not a problem. Now, in this case, we do not want this to be dynamic, okay? Which means that it's going to be included in the physics simulation, right? And it's just basically going to be a static wall. We also don't want it to rotate, all right? So again, if this is just going to be a barrier, no rotation on this guy other than the one I somehow accidentally applied. And then affected by gravity, yeah, we don't want this falling either, right? So we'll toggle that back off. And I guess one thing I should point out is that you can have affected by gravity off, and you can have allows rotation turned off, but you could go over here and turn dynamic back on. So in that case, what you would see is a little bit of a push effect when this falls down onto it. But again, it's not going to rotate, and it's not going to get pulled away by gravity. But you would see, it'd be sort of like if something was floating in water and you rammed one thing against another, right? Yeah, let's go ahead and see what happens with this now. And again, somehow I switched to the iPad Pro. I'll pause the video where I get, no, actually it's really loading up pretty quick. All right, well, let's see what happens. So yep, sure enough, it did fall down there. And again, the screen capture is kind of chopping off some of it. Let's try this again though, and I'll put this back up so you can actually see it. And here, let's move our spaceship up as well. So this time around, yeah, we'll turn dynamic on, and The simulator is running relatively quickly. I won't worry about pausing this. Okay, yeah, well, there was wasn't that subtle of a push, was it? It really moved that thing. And so there's things, like, and that's actually something that we could adjust here with properties. So you could set the mass to be like maybe really, really dense, and maybe then you wouldn't see the spaceship, push it so much. So we'll try like a mass of 100 or something, and curious to see what happens here. All right, so yeah, obviously now that the spaceship doesn't have that much of an effect on it, the gravity is still pulling the spaceship down in this case, though, so it's still going to affect. It's going to have this pull down effect on the block as well, even though it's not affected by gravity. So anyway, that's a little bit to get you started there with the physics, and you can set some fun properties like the friction. That's how kind of slippery an object is. The restitution, that's how bouncy an object is. So for example, I could set that up to 1 and maybe this up to 1. Oh, where did that go? There it is. And we'd probably have a lot more of a bounce on this effect, on this ship hitting the platform. And hopefully you guys have noticed that obviously there we go, yeah, very bouncy. You can see that when the physics do run, you're getting, this. It's not like this is just a big bounding circle. It's really conforming to the edges of that ship. So any images that you bring in, obviously you're going to want to include an alpha channel so that you can do things like that. And you know what? Another neat thing is, again, I said earlier that we don't really come in here with the game view controller and do too much with it, but one of those things that you would occasionally want to do is set it up so that the view can show your physics, so it shows physics. If we set that to be true, then while the game is actually running in the simulator, don't know why that's... What's the problem here? There is no problem. You can actually see the physics lines being drawn, and that is quite useful. So I would say give yourselves like a little bit of break to kind of absorb what we just talked about with this, and what we'll do is come back in the next video where we actually tie together some objects, and we'll get away from using the spaceship to some of the code. And of course, be sure to check out cartoonsmart.com for plenty more video tutorials.